You're listening to Family Today with Funmi Johnson.
Oh, it's another beautiful Friday morning and I'm super excited to be here today. I'm still talking on the issue raising empowered boys and girls. We need to look at these more intently, and I want you to stay glued to 92.3 Inspiration FM and let's follow this conversation. Now, it's not just about explaining to boys that there are certain structures preferable to men and we want to dismantle those structures. It's about explaining why we want things to be equitable, we want things to be balanced. Do you know that it's an unwritten code that boys are meant to be leaders? Oh, you don't know? Subtle. We just assume that boys should be leaders and girls should be followers. We need to let them know that human beings have the capacity to lead, both boys and girls. We need to let them know that failure is part of growing up. You know, we excuse the failures of girls and punish the failure of boys, and let them know that there's a lot of responsibility on their shoulders, so they cannot afford to fail. Everyone will fail at one point or the other. But the beauty of failure is that we learn from those things and we stand up and we move on. The Bible even says, let my enemy not rejoice when I fall. Because even if I fall 7 times, each time I fall, I will rise again. And I will learn from my mistakes. Let the boys know that they can fail and they will fail, but they will rise up. And they need to spend more time at home in domestic roles. Let the boys know that from the beginning they need to spend more time at home in domestic roles, and that they can do all of these things without their very humanity being affected adversely, without them being told you are less than a man. So it's important. This is what I'm talking about today. And if you're a parent, you have boys and girls or boys alone, it's important to let's gather and talk about here. There's a popular person, I think it's from India, Ja. She suggested that in raising her son, she was a single mom. She raised her son. The son now is over 20. She gave the experience of a time when she had to take her son to a horse racing competition. And then they had male horses, female horses. And in that competition, the female horse won. And the son started to cry. And she was like taken aback. Why are you crying? He said, yeah, I want the female horse to do well, but not that the female horse should win the competition. So she said she had to sit down and teach her son certain things. Let me see what she wrote, and I can quote. They said, the tearful episode around the horse race where my son was upset by the success of a female jockey was a start point for a different sort of conversation. So I told my son, this is what you should look at. I'm sad your horse didn't win, but how happy the winning rider's family must be for her. And the men who lost, they'll probably have to work harder and be inspired by her. So we get to be a part of our victory as well. She took the opportunity to let her son know that victory, success, prominence is not the exclusivity of the boys. That female can win, female can excel, female can be on top, and that is normal. So Ja insisted that something that is necessary is for parents to seize the moment and use every opportunity to initiate the conversation that makes the son to see different issues of life as normal. Normalize things in life. I told you about my story. I went to an open market one day and I saw this man hitting his son on the head. He said, stop acting like a girl. So I couldn't help it. And I said, what did he do? Why are you beating him? He said, look at him. He's so slow. I said, maybe it's just his nature. Being slow is not acting like a girl. Take it easy with him. Maybe he's not the aggressive type. Or maybe he has some developmental issues. But don't say that what he's doing makes him to be a girl. So today I will continue that conversation where we stopped it. And I'm going to talk about how can we raise good boys and girls. We'll look at that. I will not open the phone lines today, but I'm going to put some resource in our hands that we would work with. And if you are the parent of boy or girl, this will be very useful for you. Let's go. Raise your children, both boys and girls, to fear the Lord. You know, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. Proverbs chapter 9 verse 10. If you teach your children from the beginning to fear the Lord, God is perfect, all powerful, all knowing, and omnipresent. The only appropriate posture in the face of such power is reverence, submission, and a healthy fear. Teach this to your children from cradle. Like children now, they imitate. My granddaughter is just a few months old, and I can see some developmental milestones. So very soon, when you begin to do things, the baby begins to imitate. When you clap, the baby claps. When you stamp, the baby stamps. So why don't you start posture of prayer and let the baby start saying that mommy, daddy, grandparents, they depend on God. I mean, you look at the thunder, the storm, the waves, the rain. When it's raining, take out your children. Tell them this is the mystery of God. Do you know where this water is coming from? If you have a little knowledge of geography, you can bring it in there so that you can see how God wove the world together in minute, intricate details. If they are old, talk about the digestive system, how you eat food, how it goes through, your small intestine, your big intestine, the organs that work on it, and how it comes back out as a poop. How this food nourishes your body, how the waste is packed. Let them see that all these are the things that God did. So when you do that from when your children are young, they learn about God. Say, through it all, we learn about God. His power, His goodness, His mercy. Through difficult times, pray. Let your children see you pray. Let them watch you pray. I'm talking especially also to fathers. The time when things are rough is not the time for you to medicate it with booze, hanging out. It's a time for you to call your family together and let them see that daddy also needs God. You understand what I'm saying? They have said a lie to you that the man is a provider. The man is not the provider. If man is a provider, then that means man is Jehovah Jireh. No way. When God called Abraham and said, go and sacrifice your son, the son carried the wood and all the things that we used to light the fire, but there was no ram. And the boy kept saying, Daddy, where is the ram? Abraham was a very wise man. You know what he told him? He said, the Lord will provide. And I want to call on men, fathers, whenever your children come to you, don't say, I get it, I got it covered. Even when you don't have it, say, you know what? I got a daddy too. And that daddy, He will provide. So from when your sons are young, let them know that you, their father, have a daddy, and that daddy is a provider. So fear the Lord. Teach your children, both your sons and your daughters, to fear the Lord. Number 2, teach them to understand that the heart of man is deceitful. Let them know that every man that has not submitted himself to the Lord is carnal, is fleshy. Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 9, it says, the heart is deceitful above all and desperately sick. Who can understand it? It's very important for you to let your children know how vulnerable they can be and how much they need the help of the Lord. Okay? Believe in yourself and listen to your heart is the feel-good moral of children's stories. I know you can do all things. There is nothing that is impossible for you to do. Hey, I'm big, I'm strong. We tell them to say all these faith things. I don't have a problem with that. But we need to let them also know that their hearts are inherently selfish. It's important for you to let your child know that. And the child needs to work on not being selfish. And the way to do that is, first of all, to fear the Lord, and 2, to submit themselves to the help of the Lord. So the man who tries to be the master of his own life is doing nothing more than making himself out to be a superhero, to have superhuman powers. You can only have superhuman powers when you have Jesus inside you, walking through you. So one of the very beautiful ways you can raise your children is to let them understand the wickedness that is in their own heart, and to admit that wickedness, and to teach them and lead them to submitting it to God for help. It is important for us to let our children know that they have a natural propensity, natural tendency to do what is bad. But if they listen to the word of God, if they hearken to the instructions of God, if we teach them morality, they would desist from it. Teach your sons and your daughter that, to understand their heart. Another key thing is teach your children to ask for help, especially your sons. 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 9, it says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly in my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. No, this one they say boys don't cry. No, let them know boys can cry. Oh, boys can be stranded. Boys can look for help, and they can seek that help both from a male or a female. It is very, very important. Many people are famous for refusing to ask for help. Doing so is often seen as, at least by other men, as a sign of strength. Like, you got it figured out, I got it covered. No, for me, it's a sign of weakness. You don't need to pride yourself in being able to do it on your own, because the truth is we all need help. We all need help. You know, as a man, this is one of the things you can do. Take your son out to men's group where you discuss crises, situations that has gotten out of hand, where men's prayer meeting, where you seek the face of God and cry. Let your son see you fall on your face. Same for your daughter. Let them see that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. So when your children realize that grown men and women need help, it becomes easier for them to ask for help. So what are the three things I've said now? Teach them the fear of the Lord. Let them understand how wicked the human heart is unless it is submitted to God, and also how to ask for help. It is important they ask for help. This is Family Today with Funmi Johnson. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, X, everything, the Funmi Johnson, and get to know more about how you can empower your sons and your daughters. We'll continue this conversation after the short break.
Paul says it is better for a single man to marry than to burn. Are you single, married, widowed, separated, or divorced? Join me on Family Today.
Family Today with Funmi Johnson is one program that will bring you in alignment with who you truly are and open your mind to how you rock your significant interpersonal relationships while sidestepping the landmines, culture, religion, and society have laid in your path. Family Today with Funmi Johnson goes where others are shy to go and shines the light in the dark corners others have forgotten. Tune in at 11:30 a.m. every Friday to listen to Family Today with Funmi Johnson on Inspiration 92.3 FM.
We are back, and today is a very special day. I'm talking about how to empower our boys and our girls and to build a society that is equitable. That is very, very important. The next point I'm sharing now is teach your sons and your daughters to control their emotions. It's important. We allow the emotions of boys to go untamed because we tell them they are leaders of tomorrow, but the emotions of girls to be broken. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 26 and 27 say, be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and give no opportunity to the devil. So let them understand that you cannot live with uncontrolled anger. Song of Solomon says that anger lies in the bosom of fools. Let them understand that untamed anger is a sign of emotional immaturity. So Jesus wept. John chapter 11 verse 36. He felt compassion. Matthew chapter 9 verse 36. He experienced anger. John chapter 2 verse 13 to 22. So emotions in and of themselves are not sinful, but how we use them can be. If your son hits your daughter because he wants to teach her a lesson because she's a girl, you need to rebuke that sharply. You need to let your sons know that all human beings need to be treated with value. You need to let your daughters know that they are equal in weight and worth to your sons, and to be able to control their emotions that way. Another point we need to look at is teach your children to respect authority. Romans chapter 13 verse 1. So let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Romans 13:1. In as much as you want a friendly relationship with your children, you are not first of all their friends. When you give birth to your children, no, you are first of all a trainer, a coach, a mentor. It's only when they become matured and they can make choices that you can now become their friends. So you are not your children's friends. You are their father. You are their parent. You are their mother. You need to set the clear boundaries. You don't negotiate with them bedtime. Say, hey, go to bed. If you go to bed at 8 o'clock, I will give you cookies tomorrow. No. If you go to bed, you would have more time to watch television. No. Once you have studied the desirable and profitable pattern for your children, then you say time to go to bed is 8 o'clock. And that 8 o'clock, if you need to read bedtime stories to them, you read the bedtime stories and they sleep. They're on their bed, lights out. Very, very important. Teach them to understand respect for boundaries and for authority. So if your son cannot learn positional authority and obey, he will struggle to submit to authority later in life. He will struggle to submit to the police officer, to laws of the land, to teachers in school. It's important. For those of you that have an only child, only girl or only boy, it is important still to set clear boundaries and to teach them to obey authority. The world does not recognize only child. The brutality in the world is universal. So you need to teach them and prepare them for such. Now, let me put this out. By respecting authority doesn't mean passively accepting every command. Sometimes the authority we are under is unfair and we must speak up. So you need to teach your children to accept the authority of the person he is talking to. Comply even if he doesn't agree, if it's not a moral or sin issue. After complying, state his case in the form of a question. Ask clarifying questions to ensure his argument is understood. Accept the outcome. Appeal to a higher authority if needed. I'll go over this again. I want you to listen. How do you submit to authority? And this is also going to help, because when you don't train your boys and they become men, they have missed this skill and they don't know how to relate. A lot of men think that they have authority over their wives, so they don't know how to listen to their wives. One of the major outcries of women is, you are not listening. You are not hearing me. So let me give you these steps, and it's important. Teach your sons to accept the authority of the person he is talking to. If you're talking to a child, you're talking to your wife, you're talking to a school teacher, you're talking to a bus driver, you're talking to LASMA, accept the authority of the person. Listen. When you listen, you're accepting the authority of the person. Then comply, even if he doesn't agree, especially if it's not a moral issue, it's not a sin issue. If someone says park and it's not a dangerous issue, park. Then after complying, state your case in the form of a question. Why are you asking me to park? What are you saying? What do you mean? Ask. Then the next, ask clarifying question to ensure your argument is understood. Are you saying that this is what you have? Are you insinuating? Are you implying? Ask clarifying question. Accept the outcome. Then appeal to a higher authority if need be. If you teach your children to go through this, life will be so easy. Even when a man is dealing with his wife, he will go through this. When a woman is dealing with her husband, he will go through this. But when you let your son think that authority is one-sided, that the man has authority over the woman and the woman doesn't have authority over the man, that's the beginning of problem. That's part of the reason we're having problems in marriages. Because subconsciously we have taught men that they have authority over their wives, and that is not scriptural. No one has authority over the other in marriage. Paul says the woman does not have authority over her own body. The man does not have authority over his own body. So the place where authority is used, he didn't give it to any of them. They have to submit to each other's authority. So submitting to someone else's authority is not a sign of weakness. It's something that we need to teach. So if you use this technique respectfully, you can disagree with anybody, with president, with your teacher, with your boss. People don't always get their way, but you would have meaningful, positive interaction. Another thing you need to teach your children is how to take responsibility. Galatians chapter 6 verse 5 says, for each will have to bear his own load. You need to let people know that's what they call the consequence of action. So some of you will need to recognize your strength and your weakness. You know, Bible talks about gifts. Your son, your daughter, they don't have all the gifts of life. Some have the gift of speaking, some have the gift of administration, some have the gift of help or comforting people. So you need to let your child know, if you have discovered what their gifts are, this is what you're good at, this is what you're not good at. And then they take responsibility for the areas of their deficiency. Because let me say this to you clearly. Nobody will be able to take responsibility for the lives of others if he hasn't mastered the art of taking responsibility for his own. How do you take responsibility for your own life? First, by recognizing what you're good at and what you are not good at, and not feeling ashamed about it. I'm hammering sons because it's important for us to let our sons know that they can't be master of everything. And when they are weak in some areas, it doesn't make them failures. It just makes that they are not good in those areas. And they submit to the authority of people that are better than them in those areas. That would also teach your sons to submit to the leadership of their wives where their wives are better than them. A lot of men who are not good with handling money, they don't submit their money to their wives who are better than them. A lot of wives too who are not good in some areas, they don't submit to the leadership of the husband if they are good in that area. And that's because we have set boys against girls as competitors rather than collaborators. So you need to teach them how to take responsibility. Remember, you can follow me, the Funmi Johnson, on all social media platforms, the Funmi Johnson. Let's take two more. You also need to teach your children to serve others. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 10. As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. We do things differently, but we all have gifts. Let your children know that the gift they have been given is not just for them, it's for the good of humanity. So from cooking to cleaning to organizing to administration to empathy to so many things. So one of the things you need to do as parents is to help your children identify their areas of giftings. And there is no child that doesn't have a gift. You just need to be happy to receive the gift of the child. Right now, our competition is about our children being the first in the class. I don't know whether all the children that were first throughout their academic career are the best in life. No, they are not. So don't kill a child who is not gifted academically. And even sometimes it may be because of bad teaching, bad methodology, or not really identifying peculiarity of that child's personality. So teach your children to serve with their gift, to help others in what they do. Don't pay your children to do household chores. Make it as part of the things they need to be doing. Serving. Serve others. So once your children get to the age, toddlers, 2-year-old, let them pick things. Take this to daddy. Put your toys in the box. Pack things. They won't do it properly, but let them start doing it. When you are sorting out clothes for the laundry, the dark colors, let them work with you to separate the dark colors from the light colors. If you're very rich and you have 3, 4, 5 helps, it does not exclude you from training your children to serve. Because a lot of rich people think that, because they have the nannies, the chefs, the cooks, the stewards, they will not train their children. Hey, beloved, it is important for you to train your child to serve, because they will find themselves in situations where they need to serve. So for the rich, this is what I offer. take a break. Go on vacations where your cooks, your chefs, your butlers will not go with you, and it will be just you and the children. And then all of you will have to do chores together, so they will see that even daddies have to work, have to clean, have to mop. It is important. These are life skills that you need to put in your children. I'm talking about how to raise empowered boys and girls. So don't pay them to do chores. You can motivate them, you can encourage them, but let them see it as part of the responsibilities of life. Don't limit chores to your girls. Don't tell your children you're preparing them for marriage as if marriage is the ultimate in life and they need to know how to cook. Boys need to know how to cook. Boys need to know how to serve. Teach them culinary skills that would help them in life. The same way you're teaching them other skills like riding the bicycle, riding the horse, like swimming, like fire drills. Teach your sons and your daughters these responsibilities. The last one I'm going to share today before we take a break is teach them how to master the use of money. Luke chapter 16 verse 13 says, no servant can serve two masters, for either he would hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Teach your children how to master money. Number one, teach them that God is the source. Teach them that God is the provider, and it is important for them to always give back to God. The Bible says, honor the Lord with your substance and with the first fruit of your increase. Teach your children that from whatever they earn, whatever they are given, because God will use resources, God will use humans, God will use institutions, God will use everything to resource us. We must give the credit back to God. Teach them to send back an offering to God from when they are young. Teach them to plan, to invest so that money can work for them. Let them understand active income and passive income. Let them understand that money should work for you more than once. When you get a salary, put a portion of your salary in a store. I call it a store or a savings, with a plan that when that saving is compounded, you can now use it to invest in something that will make your money to work for you whilst you're sleeping. That your gates shall be open continually is a scripture that can be fulfilled monetarily. I will talk more about this when we continue this conversation on empowering our boys and our girls. Remember, follow the Funmi Johnson.
Family Today with Funmi Johnson is powered by the Capstone Church Without Walls.